Bwong. Holy crap. Hey guys, a few weeks ago we made a passing reference to the Elder God from the Legacy of Kain series in one of our Skyrim videos.
But yeah, that straight up looks like, those eyes straight up look like the,
like frog eyes, kinda.
like the Overseer eyes from the Legacy of Kain series, like the Circle of Death, the Cycle of Death God dude.
I am not familiar enough, but
I know.
I will take your word for it. With it being an older series, we thought, hey, it might be fun to do a lore video on this thing. So we did. And now you're watching it. Boom! So, the Elder God is essentially the main antagonist from the Legacy of Kain game series. As such, his story is in many ways the stories of the games. Because of that, in an attempt to avoid making this a giant video summarizing the entirety of a game series, we will try to stick to just the information about the Elder God, but some plot points will, by necessity, be touched upon.
I highly recommend this game. Go play it. All of them. They're awesome. So to begin with, we're going to give you a quick primer on a few important aspects of the game series for context during the rest of the video. First, the series' primary protagonist is Kain, a vampire lord, the character for which this game series is named, and the guardian of Nosgoth's Pillar of Balance. Nosgoth is the world from the Legacy of Kain games. Kain rose as a vampire and went on a great quest in the first Legacy of Kain game, before canonically choosing to give his appointed duty as a guardian of the Pillar of Balance the Finger, as he would have had to sacrifice his own life to cure the pillars and the world of their seeping corruption. It's a whole thing. Remember that that's the climax of the entire first game. If you want more on that whole thing, let us know and we'll do a video on it, but for now we're moving on. The secondary protagonist in the game series is Raziel, one of Kain's vampire generals, raised by Kain to rule in Kain's vampiric empire several years after his choices in the first game. Over time, Raziel evolved to more closely resemble the ancient winged vampires of ages past. Again, it's a whole thing and we'll touch more on this later. And as this meant that he had evolved further and more quickly than Kain, his master, Kain had him put to death by tossing him into a roiling whirlpool of death in the aptly named Lake of the Dead, which is just a swirling vortex of normal water, because in this reality, vampires are harmed by water. Here, Raziel would stay for centuries, his undead body,
that is still somehow capable of evolving? Whatever, moving on.
Ravished by the waters of the lake until little remained of his former self, before he was plucked from the lake and raised as a soul wraith by the subject of this video, the Elder God himself. The last important pieces of information are that there are 3 established realms of existence in Nosgoth: the material realm, the spectral realm, and the demon realm. The material realm is this one. Duh. It's the realm of existence where everything is solid and the laws of physics work basically as you and I understand that they should. The demon realm is a separate realm wherein the ancient vampire race trapped their foes, the Hilden, who have been warped and twisted by the physics of that reality over the millennia since. Lastly, the spectral realm is the spirit realm of Nosgoth. It's a, you guessed it, spectral reflection of the material realm, through which most if not all souls pass after death, and to which beings such as soul wraiths are native.
Raziel's story is where we, as the players, are first introduced to the Elder God. This is also where we're going to stop talking about the order of events in relation to one another in a linear timeline, as this game series deals in levels of time travel and temporal manipulation that would give even the Doctor a headache.
Yeah.
When first introduced, the Elder God claims to be the being that created Raziel's new form, the source of his new powers, and the central cog in the machine that is the Great Wheel of Fate, which is the term used to describe the inexorable cycle of life, death, and rebirth by reincarnation to which all beings in Nosgoth are bound. Raziel at first accepts these claims, as the Elder God knows all about Raziel's capabilities, and seems to both know and benefit from Raziel's consumption of souls, just as the Elder God claimed he would. Believing the Elder God's words, Raziel sets off on a vengeance quest against Kain.
As time passes, however, Raziel, as the only character in the game series that can pass essentially freely from the material realm to the spectral realm at will, comes to discover that the Elder God lied to him. Raziel's ability to pass from one realm to another plays a key role in his discovering the Elder God's treachery, as the Elder God exists simultaneously on both material and spectral realms, meaning he can act upon, speak with, and thus influence those on the material realm, but cannot be seen except by those in the spectral realm. As the series progresses, it becomes clear that the Elder God is not what he claims, but is instead first and foremost two things: a parasite and a liar.
Okay, so at this point some of you might be asking, wait, if he didn't turn Raziel into a wraith, why can the Elder God benefit from Raziel's reaping of souls, and why would he claim to be his creator in the first place? The answers to both of these questions have the same root. Though it's never established exactly what kind of creature the Elder God is, two important things about it are established. First, that the creature is old. One might rightfully say impossibly old, as we know that he was around before the first recorded histories of Nosgoth. The second is that at some point, the Elder God managed to attach itself to the Wheel of Fate, and like a shady accountant, he skims a little bit off the top of every transaction. Specifically, he takes a little piece of every soul that passes through the cycle of rebirth, growing larger and presumably more powerful with each morsel. This is why the Elder God took credit for the creation of Raziel's new form, in order to use Raziel's desire for vengeance for his own gain.
You see, the Elder God disliked Cain, and though he'd never admit it, might even fear the mighty vampire. As a being whose sole sustenance is the life and souls of those who pass through the cycle of rebirth, the Elder God wants things to live, die, and live again. Vampires stop partway through that process. They live, they die, but they don't get reincarnated. Instead, they stay around, souls trapped inside of a lifeless husk, out of reach of the Elder God's hungry tentacles. Cain was not only a vampire, but a vampire who, most importantly to the Elder God, stopped himself and thousands of others from being reincarnated. By the time Raziel fell into the Elder God's clutches, Cain had already been lording as a vampire for more than 1,000 years, and had made a number of vampires of his own, each of whom had made more, and so on and so forth as his armies and empire grew. If you are a being that thrives on the passage of dying souls from this life to the next, a few thousand souls tossed out of that cycle is a lot of food lost, no matter how big your initial pool is. What's more, over time Cain was slowly gaining domination over Nosgoth. Combine the relative peace that could bring, thus presumably fewer things dying less often, with the slow decay of the world caused by Cain's actions in not dying and purifying the pillars, and the Elder God was watching his food supply slowly dry up. All thanks, realistically, to the work of this one guy.
A single grain of rice can tip the scale. One man may be the difference between victory and defeat.
So the Elder God sets Raziel off to kill Cain and the other vampires, the idea being to free up their souls to move through the wheel again like they're supposed to. But the longer Raziel hops around following his vengeance quest, the more things don't seem to add up, until eventually he figures out what's really going on, or at least figures out enough of the big picture to realize he's being played and used as a pawn.
See, way back before the games begin, in the times of the ancient vampires in the Hilden, the Elder God, as previously mentioned, able to commune with but not be seen by the peoples of the material realm, convinced the ancient vampire race that he was a god. Subsequently, the vampires, a winged, culturally advanced, and at this time mortal people, adopted the Elder God's doctrine of the Wheel of Fate and proselyted throughout the land. When the Hilden refused to accept the Elder God's doctrine, the two peoples went to war, which culminated in the vampires' construction of the Pillars of Nosgoth and locking the Hilden away in a separate pocket of reality, and, in the Hilden, afflicting the vampire race with the Blood Curse, turning them into the kinds of vampires we know and think about, with the blood drinking and etc. Much to the vampires' dismay, despite banishing their enemy, with the Blood Curse rendering them immortal and dead, and thus stuck, not going through the Wheel of Fate, the Elder God turned from them, growing silent and rebuking them. The race eventually died out, many killing themselves outright in the agony of their god having forsaken them, but not before infecting humans with vampirism. Raziel had discovered that all the Elder God's grandiose words were just smoke and mirrors. The creature was simply a great leech upon the fabric of reality, growing fat upon the sickness and death of the world, and interested only in prolonging its life and glutting itself upon the Wheel of Fate.
With this knowledge in hand, Raziel and Cain, after several games worth of fighting each other, killing each other, and altering time often enough that this whole process could continue, finally joined forces to take on the Elder God, with Raziel sacrificing himself to the Reaver, a legendary weapon wielded by Cain in order to create the Soul Reaver, which he had broken in his first game. a weapon capable of wounding creatures on both the spectral and material realms, and thus the only known weapon capable of harming and killing the Elder God. During this last act, Raziel also purified Kain of some long-standing corruption.
No, really, this happens in the last installment of a 5-game series, and as said several times already, that's its own big whole thing.
Allowing Kain to, for the very first time, see the Elder God with his own eyes. The two then engage in a massive fight that results in the collapse of a giant cavern in which that portion of the Elder God resides. Kain used a nearby portal to escape the falling debris, but only after telling the Elder God to dig deep and hide.
And that's basically the Elder God. If that story seems cut just short of resolution, that's because it is. Although plans were tentatively made for a 6th game to further explore and maybe conclude the story, no further Legacy of Kain games have been made, and as of the writing of this video, no plans have been announced to change that fact. Sans an MMO that would not have continued the Kain and Elder God storyline anyway, and which was ultimately cancelled before it got out of beta testing. Various fan theories have been made concerning the end result of the series, or the Elder God's plans going forward, including vague ideas tossed around by game designers about the Elder God wanting to tear down the wall to the Demon Realm so that the Hildren could come through, start a war, and get him well fed on the resultant death and rebirth. But even the most solid of those comments have been riddled with disclaimers that they were simply ideas being kicked around during development, and that development never went anywhere. We hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave us a like. If you'd like to see more videos from us, please subscribe. And as always, please feel free to leave a comment below telling us what kinds of videos you'd like to see more of in the future. In the meantime, this has been
Two Men and a Mic, signing off. Hey guys, you can click the link in the left for our last lore video.
You can click the link on the right for our last Let's Play.
And right here in the middle, that orb, you can hit that to subscribe.
Also, ring the bell if you want to be notified when we post a new video.
This is Two Men and a Mic. Thanks for watching.